Right. And that's so important to actually know that you have the money, know that your ability to stay in retirement is going to be okay and you're not going to run out of money. I think that makes a lot of people much happier than these people who are just winging it.
Welcome into Protect and Grow Chicagoland Retirement with Chicagoland's certified financial planning professional, Tim Stearns, CFP, founder of TJ Stearns Inc. and Chicagoland's resource for a common sense approach to planning with your money for your financial, investment, and retirement future. Tim, always a pleasure to have you here on the program. Thank you for being our resource. And I know you usually start off the program with a financial tip of the week.
Well, I have one, and it's appropriate to use it with our topics this week, and that is create a retirement paycheck. And what do I mean by that? Have something besides your Social Security that you know you can count on for your retirement, because you will have a gap. Social Security doesn't pay all the bills, but we think that you should also create a retirement paycheck, let's call it. So doing that, make sure that you're honing down and getting the numbers that you need to hit so that your bills are paid each month.
Tim, I'm in the phase of my life where I have a paycheck and I have retirement investments. And I don't think enough is really spoken about the time and phase of life where we have to turn those retirement investments back into a paycheck. The paycheck supports my investments today,
Yep.
but one day those investments are going to have to support my paycheck.
Right. And that's, that those days are going to be upon you before you know it. And that's why it makes sense to do protect and grow blueprint to make
Yeah.
sure that you have the numbers that will hit.
Thanks for that reminder, Tim.
You're welcome. You're
Yeah.
getting old with me.
I got a haircut last week and I kept looking down at the cape, wondering why all of my dad's hair was landing on my lap in front of
That's
me.
weird. Yeah, I get the same problem. I get it.
Well, kicking it off to the year here, remembering and reminding people what is important is that from both a financial responsibility and a life worth living kind of standpoint, Tim, we want to talk about what we want to do that is important both personally and financially in the year ahead. And so formulating that retirement paycheck, that spending plan tops the list here.
It's very important. We call it SMART resolutions, which is actually an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. And what that does is that sums up to having a plan.
Yep. For retirees and pre-retirees, they may not have the same resolutions as well, this year I'm going to get myself out of debt, or I'm going to make sure all my bills get paid. I know financial resolutions top the list, right? It's family and relationship, and then financial are right there neck and neck. But nonetheless, those savers and investors and proactive planners, those affluent folks that are retiring, still have things on that to-do list that could get done this year and give us that much more forward progress, Tim.
Right. And that's why making realistic assumptions that you think even if you're moving the needle just a little bit, it is progress.
There's a book, and one of the concepts in it is get 1% better every day. And they're like, well, by the end of the year, now you're suddenly 37% better. I don't know if my math is exactly or memory serves exactly right on what it ends
Right.
up being, but just 1% difference each year essentially has the same compounding effect. But we're trying to, help you out there with a little bit more leaps and bounds here on some of these specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound resolutions. Number one on your list, Tim, maximize those retirement contributions, and limits are up.
Well, one of the things I like to always say is out of sight, out of mind. And, my wife and I used to kid that we'd put, as much as we could in until it hurts, and if we couldn't feed our children, then, we should cut it back a little bit. We never had to do that. And now we are completely maxed out. So, and you've met my kids, they
I've
eat
seen your
well.
boys. They don't look like they went hungry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I'm saying that's why it makes sense to do, a plan.
Yep. Well, the 401k contribution limit for 2026, it is up to 24,500. So even if you had it scheduled last year, it's time to go back and readjust the catch-up contribution up to $8,000 if you are over 50, and even higher if you are between ages 60 and 63. Tim, somebody in that range, like the real home stretch of their working career, could potentially save $35,750 of their own money in those 401k plans. That's an awful lot of headway that you would be making.
Well, it's headway, and you imagine that a lot of this money is going to be matched by your employer, so you really get the snowball moving, so that the power of compounding and just pounding money away into your retirement, so that when you are in your 70s, you're not worried about where your income is going to be coming from.
Yeah, well, checking off some of the items of the SMART acronym, Tim. Specific, let's max out each retirement account. Measurable, there are contribution limits and a monthly amount that we need to do to get there. And then timely, automate it. And that way it will happen over the course of the year, right?
Exactly. And it's on autopilot. And if it's not in your bank account, and then you're not spending it and you're actually putting it towards retirement, which makes a lot of sense.
And your note on this one, Tim, I like automation beats willpower.
Right. And that's totally true.
Yeah. All right. Well, smart resolution number 2, understand your tax bracket. These have also been adjusted for 2026, and execute a deliberate Roth conversion strategy.
So we're having conversations with people even before they turn 73, that they're going to have to take out required minimum distributions, or, in yours, in my case, 75. But either way, it makes sense to do a 401k Roth, or if you have the ability to do a Roth conversion, you want to pay on the seed, not the crop.
Yep. Start planning to take advantage now. Those Roth conversions may be one of the most powerful opportunities that we have, not guaranteed to have it forever. We all know
No.
Congress has an eraser on the tax code there that can change that at any time, but specific, measurable, time bound, specific. We want to convert defined dollars over to being tax free. We want to measurable, stay within our tax brackets, and then time bound, like you mentioned, Tim, especially before those required minimum distributions. This is a great window of opportunity to take advantage.
Right. And, we're not telling anyone to go out there and take $500,000 and do a Roth conversion, but every little bit helps to gnaw on that tax burden that you're going to have. And if you default to whatever they want, you're going to pay a heck of a lot more money over your lifetime, or your beneficiaries will.
Yeah. Smart resolution number 3, Tim, it's what you started off with your tip of the week, but create a written spending plan. And I know that we call it the income plan or budget, and nobody loves those words. So, spending plan. How much do we have the freedom to really enjoy our life after the paycheck earning years are behind us? Well, we need a plan for that. And we need that plan to show us that we can do this sustainably,
Right.
dependably into the future, reliably throughout our lifetime. That's what the spending plan gives you the freedom to do.
Right. And that's so important to actually know that you have the money, know that your ability to stay in retirement is going to be okay, and you're not going to run out of money. I think that makes a lot of people much happier than these people who are just winging it.
Yeah. Well, measurable. This needs to stack up with your expenses. And realistic, Tim, in order to have a realistic spending plan, and this is overlooked far too often, it does need to account for and address inflation.
Not only inflation, but taxes too, right? Because
Mhm.
most of these people, we've put stuffed money away into our retirement plans was tax deferred. And when you come out, it will be taxable. But you have to match that with, to your point, inflation. And at our office, we always use 3%, because that's the average of the last 130 years that they've kept statistics. And I think that's a fair amount.
And your note on this one is that the income plan or the spending plan gives people the confidence and permission to spend. And that's what we want in retirement. That's what it's all about. Smart resolution number 4, Tim, review and realign your investment portfolio. A lot of portfolios get out of alignment over time.
You're telling me we have people coming in here who are baby boomers or getting ready to retire, and they haven't pulled the ripcord just yet, and they've got 80% of their money in stocks. And they're just, they have the FOMO, their fear of missing out on this bull market. And they're also using a phenomenon that I cannot get over how much this is here is recency bias. So, thinking that, oh, the market's just going to keep clicking along when, the market, I think is very volatile. And I don't think a lot of people realize how temperamental it might get. And they forget, 2008, and that's scary. So I would tell people review and realign your investment portfolio to where you should be now, not as if you were 40 years old still.
Yeah, for a lot of people, the risk exposure is much greater than the risk
Yeah.
tolerance, the stomach for risk. And that's why
Right.
specific, measurable, and timely, let's get your target allocation and the volatility range identified. Let's identify your risk tolerance, measurable, annual rebalancing back to those thresholds timely. You got to review this at least once a year, Tim, and maybe more often as we get close to retirement.
We always tell people when we build your portfolio, you need to make sure that we're staying in line and we're in the areas that we want to be in. Not, if one of the portfolios gets out of whack, you need to rebalance.
Smart resolution number 5, Tim. I like this one. This one falls squarely in the having a life worth living category of our financial resolutions here, but plan and fund a bucket list experience. It's not worth having if you can't do something with it, Tim.
I love it. And I also sometimes kid some of my clients that aren't taking those bucket list trips because I'll ask them as a joke, how big is your casket? And they'll say, "What do you mean? How big is your casket? You're going to take all this money with you?"
Mhm.
And they laugh, but they realize that you should be able to spend it. The way that happens is because they have a protect and grow blueprint and they have a growth bucket that, we say that we're going to average only 5%. And that's pretty moderate. And they can realize that they will have money to do the extra things that they wanted to do in life that they couldn't do because they were working.
Yeah, that seems like some people's bucket list item, Tim, not planning on doing this is to allow the kids to take a bucket list kind of trip after I'm gone. um, that's what ends up happening here. So we need to plan, ladies and gentlemen, to enjoy what we have worked so hard to build. Make sure you're doing those things. So a destination, an experience, a timeline, a dedicated amount that you're willing to spend doing it. Schedule this soon, make it timely within the next 2 to 6 months. I want to do X, Y, Z, whatever it is for you. And money is a tool. It is not a trophy. So remember that. I like your quote from that one as well, Tim. Smart resolution number 6, document your financial life for your family. Tim, unfortunately, a lot of times family is left in the dark when things happen to us.
And this makes me think of one of my clients who passed, and they became clients after she passed, and she left a book with all of her passwords, and we called it Sue's Crumbs. The crumbs that lead us to where we needed to be, and it helped us so much. He was so distraught, but at the end of the day, having her with us on the journey made it a lot easier. So I love that idea.
I heard somebody else whose book was called Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead
Oh my gosh,
for,
that's
for their
good.
kids. But,
I like that.
yeah, yeah. But organize equals protected, right?
Right.
If you've got all of that organized, it is a gift to your family, prevents chaos during difficult moments. Smart resolution number 7, secure life insurance and long-term care protection now. Why is this so
Well,
important, Tim?
why is this so important? Because 7 out of 10 Americans over the age of 65 will need long-term care, and 9 out of 10 of those people have not addressed it. So if you have a chance of 7 out of 10, that's a pretty good percentage. And I'd want to make sure you take care of this. And I just read an article the other day in one of our trade books that said, if as a fiduciary, if you haven't at least brought up the topic of long term, you're doing a disservice to your clients. And I try to do that with every one of ours because they need to know this is a real thing and it could really upset your apple cart to the point of, someone's going back to work or you're poor.
Long-term care costs can easily exceed $100,000 per year in a road,
Yep.
even large portfolios. So
Yep.
specify the coverage amount that you are comfortable with, measurable, understand your policy benefits and the premiums. And timely, you've got to do this before life happens and health changes occur. So do it now, ladies and gentlemen. Long-term care is a financial risk as much as it is a health risk.
Well, I agree with you 100%.
Number 8, Tim, and a lot of people in this boat, especially if they are retiring before the age of 65, before Medicare, but those health insurance premiums certainly are expensive. So plan for health insurance and medical costs with a pre-65 retirement focus if that's in the cards for you.
Right. If you're going early, I hear a lot of people my age, I'm 54, saying, oh, at 58, I'm out, or 60. And my next question is, what are you going to do for healthcare?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they have any clue how bad the prices are out there. And then you're paying a lot, and a lot of times you're not getting much back.
Yep. A married couple insuring privately before Medicare age, estimates for 2026 are north of $30,000 a year for a high tier or Cadillac kind of healthcare plan.
Yep.
You got a budget for that. Specific annual healthcare is a necessity, and you need to have a budget, measurable, dedicate some savings, some strategy. Maybe it's your HSA strategy to that. Timely before leaving your employer, you need to have your coverage plan mapped out. Number 9, Tim, for our smart resolutions, review your legal and legacy documents. A lot of people have not done these at all, or they've done them and they've gathered dust somewhere for the last 15 years. It's time to break those out and review them.
I tell people every 5 years at least. And especially if you've had a life experience, life instance that's happened, like a death, a marriage, a divorce, grandkids, you name it, you should definitely review.
Yeah, kids have turned 18, right?
Yeah, that too. That too.
A lot of people, I mean, they're talking about retirement, and their wills and legal documents still is talking about who would be the caretaker for their kids who are now in their 30s or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So resolution number 10, smart resolution, schedule regular financial checkups, Tim. And it's always good to have the perspective of an experienced, qualified professional on this.
I think that's so important. You should always know where you're at on the trip of retirement so that you know that you're, staying course or you're off course, whichever, but make sure you rectify it by knowing that you are within the numbers that you were trying to do.
Well, smart resolutions are not about restrictions. They're about freedom. They're about confidence. They're about intentional living, a life worth living. And that's, Tim, what the Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint does for your clients there at TJ Stearns.
That is correct. And the whole idea there is to make sure that we are on pace to do what we want to do and not run out of money, but enjoy retirement. And all those things come in that plan.
A successful launch into the year and the years ahead, ladies and gentlemen, starts with having that plan for making progress, benchmarks, and then action items to achieve them, and accountability along the way. And if you want to make sure that you've got that plan in place, give Tim Stearns, CFP, and TJ Stearns Inc. a call and get the process and the conversation started to get your Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint available there and only there at TJ Stearns Inc. You can get that process started by calling 800-640-2256. That is 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256. Tim, always a pleasure having you here on the program. Thank you for going over some of the essential items to get the year ahead moving in the right direction for us.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks for having me.
Tune into Chicagoland's certified financial planner Tim Stearns' full radio program and visit tjstearns.com for many valuable resources, including other great episodes of Chicagoland Retirement. Be sure to subscribe.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature, not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals or growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs.